My husband, who is 34 years old, and I, who am 32 years old, have 3 kids, aged 6 years old, 4 years old, and 10 months old. We live in a rural community and had to travel to the city for me to get some major medical treatment. I've been really sick for some time and have needed the surgery for a long time, but it had to be postponed because my kids all got pneumonia. The plan was for him and the kids to stay with his parents while I was in the hospital. Leading up to the surgery, both my sons got sick. My oldest just had a cold, but the baby had high temperatures and projectile vomiting. I contemplated postponing again, but my doctor advised that was too risky for my health. I felt awful about having to leave the boys, especially my baby. My husband wanted to go to somewhat of a social event the day after my surgery. It was a bit of a drive. He promised me that he would be home for the kids in the evening. While I was still in the hospital, his parents would be with the kids during the day. I wasn't happy about it. I told him that I didn't think a social hobby should be a priority. He made the decision to go anyway. Here's where it gets complicated. After my surgery, I was in recovery, and they couldn't get my pain under control. I was in a really bad way. After hours of me being inconsolable, they decided to try a stat dose of something really strong, followed by a patient-controlled analgesia pump. I had an adverse reaction to the large dose. I went into respiratory distress and became unresponsive. Blood pressure and heart rate skyrocketed, which is dangerous as I have an existing heart condition. They managed to stabilize me, but after that, I was catatonic for some time. I was also having intense hallucinations during that time. By the time I was able to communicate, I was quite upset and was apparently crying out for my baby. That's really unusual for me. I'm usually pretty stoic. My doctor has known me for a while, and he knew that if I was that distressed, something was seriously wrong. My husband brought the baby up that night to see me, but left the kids with his mother-in-law because I was still quite unwell. I told him that it was really important to me that he didn't leave the kids overnight without one of us. This was the first time I had really been away from the baby. I had at most left him for 2 to 3 hours. Yesterday, he went to the social event. He decided to go back to our house before going to his parents. I felt like something was off, so I asked if he was planning on staying at our house. He said yes. I got upset and told him that I was not comfortable with that, and I wanted him to be with the kids. He told me that he would drive to his parents, and I didn't hear from him after that. When he came to get me from the hospital this morning, I asked him what time he got back to his parents, and he told me 12:30 a.m. He said he was really tired from having to drive so late. We picked up the kids from his parents and drove back to our house this afternoon. When we got home, I realized that his overnight bag was already in the house. I was the first person in the door. I asked our oldest son if Dad was at Nana's house when he woke up. He said no, but he came over later. I asked my husband if he had lied to me about where he slept, and his response was, "Damn right I did." We started arguing, during which time he said I was controlling and that he lied to avoid a fight. I'm still in a lot of pain, and when I'm upset, I typically need some alone time to feel a little bit more composed. My husband knows this about me. Eventually, I walked out to the kitchen, and I heard my daughter telling my husband that he needs to apologize for hurting my feelings. He said he was sorry, so I asked what he was specifically apologizing for. He has said that he only needs to apologize for the lie because nothing else that he did was wrong. He is adamant that he is not in the wrong and that he has the right to make decisions about the kids' care. While I do agree with that, I don't think we should ever explicitly disrespect the other parent's wishes about the kids. The event he went to was not compulsory or a work commitment. Given how sick I had been, I also think it's fairly irresponsible to drive hours away with poor phone service. Anything could have happened, and he wouldn't have been around. The cherry on top of my frustration Sunday is that I realized just before dinner that no one had done homework with my son over the weekend. It's usually set on a Friday, but he got his on Thursday, so he has had an extra night. He's just been diagnosed with vision impairment and has new glasses, but we also suspect he may be dyslexic. I'm trying really hard to keep him positive and engaged with his schoolwork. But tonight we had to sit and complete all the homework in one go. He really struggled with that. I wasn't feeling well, and it was pretty difficult for both of us, if I'm being honest. I don't feel like I can rely on him now, and it does raise questions about how trustworthy he is. He was caught in the lie, but has also backtracked and said that I never told him that I didn't want him to go to the event. Our conversations just keep going around in circles. I don't know how to move forward from this and still feel like he's reliable. It doesn't feel like he understands the significance. I don't know how else to convey my frustrations, especially when I am already so exhausted. I understand that people will probably have very strong opinions about this, but I do just ask for kindness. It's been a rough few days. I'm still in a lot of pain, and I'm not going to make any rash decisions while I'm in a vulnerable position. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm going to be blunt. It doesn't matter what else was going on. He should have been with you or with the kids. Forget any social or other kind of event going on. He knew you were having surgery, of which nobody knows what happens the day or two after. He should have been with the family. Your instinct told you to postpone it again, and you were right. Not because of any other factors, but because of a highly irresponsible husband who couldn't put family first. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I can't make this because my wife is having surgery the day before, or at the very least bail out early to get back to the kids. Not returning to the kids was the cherry on top. He's shown himself to be an unreliable, selfish person. Not to mention, as the dad, he should have been on top of making sure homework was done. And now you have to worry if he lied about going back to the kids. Is there anything else he's hiding? I hope you feel better soon. Please take care of your physical self before making any decisions or escalating the argument. If you need a good chat or just to vent all your actual anger and frustrations, feel free to drop into my chats. Comment 2. So his argument was that he has the right to make decisions about the kids' care as well. Only his decision to leave them wasn't based on what's best for the kids. It was based on what he wanted. He had his own selfish reasons while you had the kids' best interest in mind, while also having to deal with your own health. Your husband seems incredibly egotistical and self-righteous, and I feel like he's already starting to resent you because you demanded him to be a father and carry the responsibility of parenthood with you. He's not trustworthy, and he's willing to prioritize his own needs and wants over his family. He is not a partner to you, and I'm sorry you are in this situation. I wish you get better soon and can make an informed decision about your next steps. All the best, OP. Now for the update. I woke up the day after my last post still feeling super out of it from the meds. My husband had left earlier to take the kids to school, and I was just trying to get myself together. The house was super quiet, which is weird with 3 kids normally running around. I went to check on my son's homework because he had a lot to do, and it was still untouched on the table. So I'm thinking, great, another thing to deal with later. I checked my phone to see if my husband had messaged me about it or anything. And then I saw a message from my neighbor asking if I was okay since she hadn't seen my husband around. I was like, oh, he's probably just busy with the kids. I brushed it off because honestly, I didn't have the energy to deal with anything else. So I went to the bathroom, and what do I see? A couple of my medications still in the cabinet. I mean, I know I just had surgery and all, but did he even try to help me out? I decided to call my husband to check in, just to see how things were going. Of course, he didn't answer. Not unusual for him, but still. I spent the day resting, trying to focus on recovering and ignoring all the stuff going on. Later that afternoon, my husband comes home without the kids. I'm like, where are they? And he explains that they're at a birthday party for a classmate, which I had totally forgotten about. So I asked him why he didn't tell me about the party beforehand, and he just shrugs, saying he thought it was no big deal. I mean, come on, really? I asked him about my son's homework, mentioning it was pretty important for him to catch up. But you know what? The kids returned home late, covered in frosting and all excited, and I just had to push the homework thing to the side for now. I noticed my son looked tired and overwhelmed from the party. I tried to help him with his homework, but he was too distracted and jittery from all the sugar. My husband was just sitting there watching TV instead of stepping in to help. I mean, he could have at least tried, right? So I snapped at him for not being more involved, saying that someone had to help out. He shot back that I just had surgery and should be resting. I know I should be resting, but he could at least pretend to help out a little bit more. The next day, I overheard my husband on the phone in the kitchen, and he was speaking really quietly. I heard him mention something about needing to keep it a secret, and I was like, what the heck? I walked in, and he quickly hung up, looking all flustered. So I asked who he was talking to, but he dodged the question like a pro. I was growing suspicious, and I knew I had to look through his bag later that evening. I found a receipt for a hotel stay with a date from a week ago. A hotel stay? Really? So I confronted him about the receipt, and he claimed it was for work. Work? Really? So I pressed even more, and he finally admitted to staying at the hotel, saying it was to avoid conflict with me. Avoid conflict? I mean, is that really the best excuse you can come up with? The argument escalated, and he had the nerve to accuse me of being paranoid. He left the house saying he needed space to think. A few days later, he returned with a suitcase. I'm like, what now? He announced he was moving out temporarily to figure things out. His last words were that he would be back to discuss things later. I just stood there, speechless, watching him leave. Edit. After my husband left, I felt a mix of emotions. I called my sister for support, and she came over to check on me and the kids. She noticed the state of the house and helped me with some cleaning. My kids were confused by their dad's sudden departure, but I just told them he needed some time to think. My sister stayed for a few days, which was really comforting. She even helped me find a therapist, although I haven't started yet. My husband has been distant, only texting occasionally to check on the kids. Am I the idiot for refusing to stand by my husband after he sent unclothed photos and got blackmailed? My husband and I have been together for 2.5 years, married for 8 months. We have a beautiful 16-month-old and just got our first apartment together. This relationship was the best I had ever been in. It was full of love and care, and there were absolutely zero red flags in every aspect. This past Saturday, I went to get my nose pierced. I left at 2 p.m., and that morning we had a great time watching TV and cuddling on the couch. By 2:40 p.m., as I was leaving the piercing shop, I finally looked at my phone and saw that I had missed 14 calls from my husband. I answered, and he was frantically begging me to come home. It turns out that in the 40 minutes I had been down the road, he looked up an anonymous chat, sent unclothed photos, and immediately got blackmailed. The online person found me, my family, and my husband's family's social media accounts and contact information. They threatened that if my husband didn't send money, they would show his unclothed photos to all of them. The police couldn't do anything. I was only 10 minutes down the road. Unfortunately, they did send the unclothed photos, and so far, only my mother has seen them. I'm in a state of shock. My husband has been begging me to stay and love-bombing me, saying he doesn't understand why he did it. My last relationship before him was a rough one. It was full of constant cheating and emotional abuse. I promised myself that if I got cheated on again, I would leave. I feel like my mind is made up, but I'm mentally paralyzed. I don't understand how this happened. We had a great life, great jobs, good cars, our own place, and we were thinking of having another child next year. Should I try to work it out or leave him? Now for an update. I just want to say thank you to everyone who commented, and I do appreciate the support. I know some might think this isn't a real story, but it is, as much as I wish this was just some AI-created story. It's been 4 days and we have separated. We're taking one day at a time to figure things out, but I've made it clear to him that we're done. As for us getting together so quickly, we became best friends, and 6 months after getting together, I fell pregnant while on birth control. We were ready and fine with it because our goals matched completely, and we just felt we were blessed early. We didn't get married until our daughter was 10 months old, and life had been complete bliss the whole time. As for whether or not this is the first time he's done it, I don't think I'll ever know, but from history with past relationships, I agree that it definitely doesn't seem like the first. I saw the website he used, what he sent to them, and part of the conversation, he swore that the online conversation just didn't feel real to him, or that he wanted someone to tell him whether or not he was desirable, despite us having a very active and healthy intimacy life. Either way, it all doesn't make sense. Our families are broken over our separation, but have all reached out to me in support of any decision I make. No one expected this, for him to do what he did, but it's over, and I'm going to move on one day at a time. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Yes, you should leave him. As you are at the beginning of your life, think about it this way. If he's sending unclothed photos out of his own pocket like that, then he will likely cheat on you in the coming years, as if he hasn't already. Comment 2. I would be amazed if he got caught in sextortion the first time he ever sent unclothed photos. Who did he send them to? Why? How long did it go on for before pictures were exchanged? Now for the update. 3 days after the separation, I'm sitting on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through TikTok, when I get a text from him asking if we can meet. I almost have a heart attack, thinking he's going to tell me he wants to fix this. But let's be real. I'm not that lucky. It's more like he's in deep trouble and needs someone to blame. So I say, sure, let's meet at that diner we used to go to for breakfast. Because, where else do you talk about your marital drama over greasy eggs and pancakes? I get there early because I'm expecting an emotional scene, maybe even some tears. What do I get? Him walking in looking like a zombie from The Walking Dead. I mean, he looked disheveled, wearing this wrinkled shirt that could double as a napkin, dark circles under his eyes like he'd been binge-watching crap on Netflix for a week straight. He gives me a little nod like, yep, I'm still alive. And then we sit down. He tells me he's been getting these new threatening messages from the blackmailer. Here we go again. So apparently the blackmailer now claims to have more photos and wants more money. He insists he didn't send any more photos, but honestly, I'm skeptical. Like, how do I know you're not hiding something? I mean, his track record is pretty bad, like a continuous loop of the same awful song. We start talking about what this means for our daughter Olivia. It hurts every time we mention her. She doesn't deserve this crap. We try to reminisce about happier times. The days when he wasn't screwing up our lives. But it's tough to remember those times when you're stuck in a mess of betrayal. Then he drops this idea. He thinks we should consider therapy together. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I shut that idea down fast. I've been through therapy before, and it did nothing to fix our problems. We just end up talking in circles, and I'm not here for that. So we have this little argument over trust issues and past mistakes. It's like we're stuck in this endless loop, and I'm over it. A day later, my mom calls me, all cheerful, asking about this family dinner planned for the weekend. I'm hesitating, thinking, do I really want to be around a bunch of happy people when my life is a mess? But I agree to go, thinking it'll distract me from the chaos. At the dinner, my brother Jake shares the news that his wife is pregnant. Everyone's excited, and I'm smiling, but inside, I'm a mess. It's like, can't anyone see what I'm going through? But no, let's all just act like everything's fine in my life. My mom pulls me aside during dinner, looking all concerned. She wants to know what's going on with my husband. I brush her off, saying it's complicated and just want to focus on the family gathering. As the night goes on, I catch my husband staring at me from across the table. It's like he's got some creepy radar that only goes off when I'm trying to enjoy myself. After dinner, the family gathers in the living room for dessert. The atmosphere shifts when Jake asks about us. Like, really? Can't we just eat our pie in peace? My husband jumps in, claiming we're working on things. I'm surprised, to say the least. The next day, I get this message from a mutual friend saying my husband was seen out with someone else. My heart drops. I confront him that evening, demanding to know the truth. He denies it, claiming it was just a misunderstanding and that he was with colleagues. Yeah, right. I decide to do something drastic. I check social media for any clues. I find a photo of him at some gathering with people I don't even recognize. I feel sick to my stomach, like I've been punched in the gut again, and I tell him we need to have a serious conversation. So we meet at the diner again, and it's like the tension could be cut with a knife. He admits he feels isolated and overwhelmed by the blackmail and the entire situation. I suggest we need to figure out a plan to deal with the blackmailer. We're just sitting there, feeling more distant than ever. It's like we're two strangers meeting for coffee, not a couple trying to fix their marriage. This has become a mess, and as much as it hurts, I've got to start thinking about self-respect and boundaries. Edit. The blackmailer is someone my husband knows. They used to work together and had an argument that led to this. Am I the idiot for confronting my husband about his secretive finances and catching him cheating? This has been aching me since forever, and I can't take it anymore. My husband, 35 years old, and I, 33 years old, have been together for 4 years and married for 3 months. He's always been very private and low profile all his life, and even before he met me. When we first got together, he used to tell me everything about his finances, not in detail, but he used to share with me how much he has or how much in debt he is with his credit cards and all. During our engagement, he changed jobs, and since then he stopped sharing anything with me. He knows how much I make and all the details about my finances, but when I ask him, he acts as if I'm invading his privacy or smothering him. I once asked him how much he makes a month so that we can plan our budgeting and responsibilities together. He refused to tell me the exact salary, told me an average of what he makes, and I didn't insist to know back then. Recently, though, he told me he had a loan for us to get married. I asked him about it as a normal response to the conversation with the pure intention of helping him out. He implied that it was a big number, but also refused to tell me the amount. I tried to tell him that our marriage shouldn't have secrets, and I want our marriage to have transparency and shared responsibility. Or at least, that's how I see a healthy marriage. I asked him if he doesn't trust me, and he said it's not about trust. It's about what makes him comfortable, and that I should respect his privacy. However, he also said there's only one person who knows about the loan, and he's the only person he shared it with because it's his business partner. I don't know how to feel about this. All I see is that he trusts his partner more than me. I can't even understand how sharing your finances with your spouse would be uncomfortable. Please tell me if I'm in the wrong here. He keeps manipulating me that I'm a bad person who doesn't respect his privacy or what makes him comfortable, and that he could have kept the whole loan thing from me. In other words, I should be thankful that he even decided to share with me that he took a loan. I don't even want to know about the loan anymore. He is very cautious when it comes to sharing any information with me. He says it's something in his nature, and I can't force him to change just because we got married. It's in his nature that he doesn't disclose any financial information with anyone. I keep telling him that would be the case if he was single, but now he's married, and I have the right to have an honest and open marriage. How should I react? What should I do to make him understand the importance of transparency in a healthy marriage? He truly believes there's an ulterior motive behind my question and not just genuine care and worry. Now for an update. I told him everything I gathered from this thread, and it's a deal breaker for me. Yet, he still believes that my insisting means I have an ulterior motive, and that doesn't make him comfortable. He also said that this loan was taken before we got married, so it has nothing to do with me. If it happens when we're married, he'll let me know. What should I do? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Uh-oh. Now I'm suspicious you guys are saddled with debt. You need to be open about finances before marriage. It's often a deal breaker. Different views on things like spending are a common point of separation. You could be about to find out your husband is in crippling debt or has a gambling problem or something. Comment 2. He is embarrassed about his level of debt and possibly about his income at the new job. He took out a loan for the two of you to get married. Did you pay for the other half, or was it all on him, the loan? Now for the update. I'm back with an update, and wow, it's been crazy. A couple of weeks have passed since the last fight over money, and let me tell you, things have gotten worse between us. The silence is unbearable. I've been trying to act normal, but it's like we're living in two different worlds. I'm always on edge. I started noticing my husband getting calls late at night, which was unusual. He'd be whispering and acting all secretive, thinking I'm asleep. The paranoia started creeping in, and I couldn't shake it off. It's like he thinks I'm not aware of what's happening right in front of me. Then one day, I found a hotel receipt in his jacket pocket. It was for a place in a city we've never even talked about visiting. Red flag, anyone? I confronted him, and he had the nerve to say it's a business trip. A what? When I asked for details about this so-called trip or who he was with, he shut me down. That was it. I decided to do some digging, and oh man, I checked the hotel's website, and it's a luxury hotel known for romantic getaways. You can imagine what went through my mind. I was about to explode. During a family dinner at my parents' house, my brother casually mentioned seeing my husband out with another woman. Just like that, as if it's no big deal. My heart dropped, and I needed more details, but he didn't remember much. So frustrating. I had to find out for myself, so I decided to visit the hotel with my sister. We pretended it was just a fun day out, but we both knew the real reason. We arrived and asked about any recent guests. When the staff mentioned my husband checked in with a woman the previous weekend, I felt like I got punched in the gut. I snapped a picture of the hotel with my phone for reference, as if I was collecting evidence for a crime. My sister and I decided to stay nearby and wait to see if he'd return. A couple of hours passed, and we spotted him pulling up to the hotel with a woman. I took a picture of them walking in together, and my heart was racing. I couldn't just stand by and wait for him to respond to my text, so I texted him that I was at the hotel and needed to talk urgently. He responded, asking if I was joking, clearly caught off guard. I sent the photo of him with the woman and waited for his reply. He texted back in disbelief, saying it was a business meeting that got out of hand. Really? I decided to confront him in person instead of waiting for more excuses. I stormed into the hotel lobby, my sister trailing behind. I spotted them at the bar, laughing as if the world didn't matter. I walked up to them, and the woman looked shocked, but didn't even flinch at the sight of me. I confronted my husband, and the bar went silent. People started noticing, and I didn't care. He tried to explain, but I cut him off. I revealed how I found out everything, including the hotel receipt and my brother's comment. He tried to downplay it, saying it was just a misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding? I declared I was done with the lies and walked out, leaving him stunned. It felt good to say that. I texted my family, telling them I needed their support. My brother called me, and I explained everything as I walked outside, trying to keep it together. I decided to take a break from him and stay at my parents' house for a while. I needed to clear my head and figure out what the heck I was going to do next. Mini update. After staying with my parents for a week, I returned home to pack my husband's things. I wanted to give him a chance to explain himself, but he didn't show up. Instead, he sent a text claiming he was set up and was just trying to save our marriage. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.